I did want to talk about Anisha Ahooja. I met her in 1998, and she had dated my friend Andrew. Uh, we were the same age, and our mothers come from the same city, Lahore, and they have the same last name. They're Kumars, and they're Hindus. They're Hindus. So India was one country once. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh was one country in there. From Lahore, my mom and her mom, and we have her mom had washed clothes to put her father through Harvard and through Harvard Business School, and he had made partner Goldman. And my dad, I didn't have a bedroom till late into grammar school. I slept in a drawer. They just pulled out a drawer out of the dresser, and I slept in that. But when it came time to go to college, I had got into Franklin Marshall without any financial aid, and it was all paid for. But that was Yale money. My cousin was at Brown, and we went to see him. My aunt was living in Rhode Island, and on the way back to the city from Brown, we stopped at Yale. I said, "Hey, can we stop at Yale?" I saw the sign. I was young, and my dad stopped at Yale, and I visited the campus, and my dad bought me a little Yale spoon, and I decided I wanted to go there. And so it was some sacrifice and education that we had in common, and some commonality of some experience to that for first generation people like myself have when they're financing an Ivy League school education. So I did. I was compelled by her story. I did not know if we were related, but in 1998, I found out she was living in a location where I had just looked at an apartment, and I wasn't really comfortable living on the Upper East Side of New York, so I thought I'd run it by Andrew. Andrew told me she was living there, and I just stayed away from her. But in London, I had gotten into trouble. I was in a very desperate situation. I had cried out to Swami for help, and I tried to connect with her in that very desperate situation, and it was about survival. I called her from St. Louis and tried to work through the situation. Then Ted told her that I was sexually harassed at work, and I tried to hold on to who I was, my identity, by holding on to a connection to her that I believed existed, that she made me believe existed, and then I heard Swami's voice say that she was not married. So her mother told me she was married. Then I heard Swami's voice say she was not married, and it was so definitive that that action took place, and I had to act on that voice in my head, and then at some point she had embraced ETG, and Swami told me that if I make her throw the wedding over, he'd be at my funeral, and I was asking her to throw a wedding over, and for every person who was not present at the second iteration of the wedding, that wedding would have to be thrown one more time. And Swami told me if I make her throw the wedding over, he would be at my funeral. And I learned that she had invited my boss from, or not my boss, but the owner of ETG, to her book signing, and I didn't get hurt. So if you've seen Gods and Generals, General Thomas Jackson talks about God protecting him, and God protected me. And then she dated somebody else, so she got a divorce somehow. She was married, got a divorce, and I guess there was truth to that somehow she was not married, and the wedding ended. But she dated somebody else, and I would then try to take my life. So she had given out Atlas Shrugged and put me in a cult situation, along with Bob Cantor, the founder of ETG. And then she had embraced Bob Cantor, and when she dated somebody else, I tried to take my life. So my ETG document is on the internet, and that's Anisha Ahooja. And then I was in such a hopeless situation that at the wedding that was put together with that voice in my head was a little girl who I call a little cousin, because I had all these little cousins at the wedding. 6 of them. My cousin, one cousin, she went to IT. Her daughter was there, and then my cousin who went to Penn, her 2 kids were there. My cousin from Wharton, his 2 girls were there. My cousin who worked at Goldman and Morgan Stanley, his 2 kids were there, and she was at part of that wedding. And somehow I was very desperate. I worked very hard at recovery. I saw 14 therapists, and that's hard work. I do have ADD. I'm somebody who has attention deficit disorder. I deal with laziness and sloth and tummus, but I did work hard at recovery. I saw 14 therapists. I kept trying to find that connection to someone. I didn't have any family to talk to. And in recovery, I would just find people to speak and just keep on speaking and speaking, trying to get better. But this girl was just sort of an exact connection, like a very flush connection, a very precise connection, a very true connection, a very, I would say, something that you would, I mean, if you believe in karma, then it just sort of fit that understanding that if 2 people had karma together and they knew each other, then that was karma, that we had karma, and it was a resurrection. And after a suicide attempt, I became abstinent from meat and alcohol and nicotine and Diet Coke and soft drinks, but not eggs, because Swami's voice did not specify eggs. And I became a Putta Party delegate and had some amazing level of perfection for a guy who had food issues, to the point that I had become 352 pounds. And I still have food issues. I'm 257 now, and but still I had become that, and one thing I tell people is that if you have to deal with food issues, one thing I tell people is that if you deal with food issues, then a vegetarian is something that I could do, and you can do it too. And I did go to weight loss camp, and I say that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And you hear that, which is how I know that I heard it. And the definition of insanity for me is doing the same thing over and over again, trying to lose weight and expecting a different result. However, I did become a vegetarian, and I tell people that you meet heavy vegetarians, but you will not. I don't know if you've run across an obese vegetarian. So if you deal with struggle with food issues, then you should keep in mind that I can be a vegetarian, and I love it. I grow very averse to eating meat, but I become worldly and fall out of it. And right now I'm kind of working on this temple, but I'm not going to the Ramakrishna Math or the SSIO. So it was a death, and it was resurrection. It was death and resurrection. So there was karma between me and that girl. I made the addition to Hinduism that Arjun, Sri Subramaniam is Arjun, Nara from the Gita. And in the Gita, she's a consort of Arjun, Subhadra. In the Abrahamic religions, she's a consort of Saint Michael, Saint Gabriel. So there was karma.